Hello students. So in this session, I'm going to be talking about numeric types and the mathematical operations associated with it. So there are three types of numeric types in Python. There's an int, float, and complex numbers. So let's look at int first. Generally, these are your whole numbers. For example, your 10, -4, 7, 89. Yeah, these are your integer numbers. Then you have float. Float are like your decimal numbers. For example, 10.5, -54.789, 3.567. These are your float numbers. So, and then you have complex numbers. Complex are like 3 plus 4j, -1 plus 2j. So these are your complex. So some of you who come from a technical background would recognize complex numbers. So basically, complex numbers are these ones. Any number that has this -1 associated with that, which is under root of -1. This is your complex number right here. Okay, then let's see. Let's look at each one of the types. So let's say my a equal to 6, my b equal to 3.8, and my c equal to 1 plus 2j. So I'm assigning these variables right here. Let me run this right now. Okay, so I assign these variables, and what Python does is that when it sees 6 right here, it's going to say, hey, this is 6, this is an integer. So it's going to assign a, it's going to convert a into an integer type. And same thing with b. When it sees the float over here, it's going to convert your b into a float type. And same thing with c. When it sees this j term over there, it's going to convert your j into a complex number. So I'm printing the type of a, b, c. And as you can see, it prints out my type of A is integer, type of B is float, and type of C is complex. Okay, so let's look at some of the integer operations that can be performed. So you have the regular operations like plus, minus, multiplication, division. So let's say my A equal to 17, my B equal to 5. And I can do my regular operation. So in this case, I do addition, A plus B. Okay, it prints out my result, addition. It prints out my result, addition 22. Then I do result equal to A minus B. I print out my result right here. And it prints out my subtraction, 12 right there. By the way, I'm using f string to print my result. And then I do result equal to a times b, and I do my multiplication over here, print out my multiplication, and it prints out my result over here. Clearly, no surprises over here. This seems very elementary, and I'm sure you have known these things. Same thing with the a division by b. Okay, I'm dividing a by b, and the answer is 3.4. So 17 divided by 5 is 3.4. Okay, now there are other operations you can also perform. For example, floor division, modulus remainder, exponentiation. So let's look at each one of them. So let's say this is 17 and then my b is 5. I want to do floor division, a floor division b. So this is how you do floor division. You use this forward slash forward slash. So what's happening is this. My a is 17, right? So this is gonna be written like this. Your 5 goes into 17. Okay, my a is 17 and my b is in this case 5. So when you divide 17 by 5, 5 goes into 17 by 3 times, right? Okay, and 15, and the remainder is 2. So your float division right here, okay, that is this number right here. Okay, this is called your float division. Now, in this case, your remainder, okay, this part remainder right here, this is right here too. So when I run this, you're gonna see, let me just run this right now, right here. Okay, so when I run this, you can see your float division, okay, it came out to be, let's see, 17. Let me write again, 17.5. This goes to 3. This is 15 and 2. So this is your 2 right here. Okay, you can see my 2 over there. And then this is your float division, which is 3 right here. So this is how you get the 3, and this is how you get the 2. And exponentiation b, what it means is that your 17, okay, 17 to the power of 5. That's what's happening over here. So this exponentiation is 17 to the power 5. So the answer is 1419857. Okay, then you also have float operations. So just like you have integer operation, you can have you have similar operations on float. So for example, addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. Just like your regular integer operation. You can do addition. So if I say my x equal to 10.5 and y equal to 2.5, so if I do x plus y, and the answer is 13.0. Same thing with x minus y, the answer is 8.0. If I do x times y, it's going to be 26.25. And if I do x divided by y, the answer is going to be 4.2. Likewise, you can also do float divisions and modulus and exponentiation, just like you did with your integer. So if I do 10.5 divided by 2.5, so let's do it on the side. So let me just show you. So if I have, this is my 10.5. Oh, let me just run this first. Just come here, run this cell. Okay, and come back over here. Now this is my 10.5, okay, and divided by 2.5. Okay, so 2.5 goes into 10.5. It's going to go by 4.0, and this is going to become you do some division. Okay, let's say you do some division, and this will come out to be 10, right? 2.5, yeah, 10. 10.0, so 10, and the remainder would be zero point 0.5. So this remainder, right? This remainder is this one right here. Okay, that's what's happening over here. This modulus remainder is this. Okay, then you have floor division, which actually is this 4. So floor division produces this 4 right here, and that's why you get this 4. Okay, this 4 is this floor division. And then you have exponentiation. So in this case, exponentiation is x to the power y. So 10.5 to the power of 2.5. Okay, so the answer for this is this right here. Okay, so that's what's happening with this exponentiation over here. Okay, then you can do like complex number operations too. So for example, addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, and absolute value. So this is a special operation that's specifically for your complex numbers. So if you come over here, let's say my complex number is 3 plus 4j, and C2 is 1 plus 4j, so 1 plus 2j. So if you add these numbers together, some of you who actually who come from a technical background will recognize what's happening over here. When you add the numbers, basically your real numbers like 3 and 1, they get added, and 4j and 2j gets added, and the answer is 4 plus 2j. And same thing when you do subtraction, your real numbers and your imaginary numbers, they get separated, they get subtracted separately, and the answer is 2 plus 2j. And same thing with your multiplication and your division and your magnitude. So it performs all these operations for you. And then let's look at some of the mixed operations. So let's say you have a number which is an int. Okay, so the int is that's the first number. The second number, let's say, is a float right here. Okay, so if you take an int and you take a float and you add them together, so 5 plus 2.5, and the answer is 7.5. So I'm printing 7.5 over here. It prints 7.5. I'm also printing the type. What type would that be? Well, if you take an int and you add a float to that, the answer is going to be a float. So be aware of that. Like if you take an int, add float to that, the type of your answer is going to be float. Okay, so let's look at this mixed operation. In this case, I'm taking integer plus float plus a complex variable. Let's see what it does. So in this case, my num1 equal to 5, which is an integer, num2 equal to 2.5, which is a float, and my num3 equal to 1 plus 3j, which is a complex. So if I multiply num1 by num3, in other words, I'm multiplying integer by complex number, right? My num1 is integer and num3 is complex. What do I get? Well, let's run this and figure it out. Well, it gives me a class complex. Okay, this is a complex. So int times complex is complex. Float multiplied by complex is complex. So I have num2, okay, which is a float multiplied by complex, and I run this program again, and you're gonna see your type is complex over here. All right, I hope this session helps, student. Thank you.